Welcome to the last part, that is part 4 of the chapter Nutrition in Plants. Today we'll be studying about fungal growth, symbiosis, and nutrient replenishment in soil. First of all, let's have a look at the topics that we have covered so far. We have learned about the process of photosynthesis. We know that plants make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. So, plants follow autotrophic mode of nutrition. So, we studied about autotrophic nutrition. Then we also learnt about heterotrophic mode of nutrition. We know that mainly animals follow this mode of nutrition, and heterotrophic mode of nutrition is further classified into holozoic, parasitic, and saprotrophic. So what is it? Holozoic mode of nutrition, then parasitic mode of nutrition, and in the end, saprotrophic. We know that most of the plants follow autotrophic mode of nutrition, but a few plants also follow heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And in heterotrophic mode of nutrition, it is mainly the parasitic type that they follow. So we had learned about parasitic mode of nutrition in plants. We studied about Cuscuta, which takes its nutrition from other green plants. We learnt about insectivorous plants like the pitcher plant. Now, let's have a look at the table of contents for today's lesson. We'll be studying about saprotrophic mode of nutrition, which is mainly seen in fungus. We'll be then learning about symbiotic association, and we'll study how nutrients are replenished in the soil. Let's get started. Have you seen these before? I'm sure you must have eaten mushroom, and you must have also seen a moldy bread. When the bread is kept for a very long time, especially during rainy season, you can see molds being formed on it. These organisms over here are called fungi, and they have saprotrophic mode of nutrition. In saprotrophic mode of nutrition, these organisms, they grow on dead and decaying matter. You can see over here, the bread is decaying. So, fungus has grown on it, and the fungus is getting its nutrition from this dead and decaying bread. Likewise, mushrooms also, they grow in the soil which contains a lot of dead and decaying matter. Therefore, saprotrophic nutrition refers to the mode of nutrition in which organisms take their nutrients from dead and decaying matter. Such organisms are referred to as saprotrophs. Over here you can see an image of a sandal on which fungus has grown. There are many articles in our homes on which fungus grows. During rainy season, if there is seepage in any of the wall, you can see fungus growing on walls, even on clothes, on leather items, and they spoil these items. So, examples of saprotrophs are fungi, which grow on pickles, leather, clothes, and other articles that are left in hot and humid weather for a long time. During rainy season, they spoil many things. So now you know the organism that you see on the bread or on any of the leather items or even on food. What is it? It is a fungus, and it follows saprotrophic mode of nutrition. Now, have you ever wondered, out of nowhere, from where does this fungus come and grow on things, objects in our homes and in our surroundings? From where does it come? So you can see this is an image of fungal spores, and it is through an electron microscope. So it is a magnified view of fungal spores. So these fungal spores, they are very small, they are very minute, and they are present in our atmosphere, they are present in the air, and you can only see them through microscope. So they are present everywhere in the air, and whenever they land on a surface which is wet and warm, they will start growing over there. So wet and warm is an ideal condition for these spores to germinate and grow. The fungal spores are generally present in the air. When they land on wet and warm things, they germinate and grow. So now, can you figure out how can we protect our things from getting spoiled? Now we know that they grow on wet and warm things. So how can we protect our things from fungus? We need to always dry our clothes in the sun and only store them in our wardrobes and almirahs once they have fully dried up and all the moisture has gone from it. Then we need to keep our leather items once in a while in the sun so that all the moisture from the leather has been evaporated. We should also keep the windows of our house open occasionally, and so that sunlight can come in. So by taking these few steps, we can protect our things from fungus and stop them from getting spoiled. Now let's study about symbiosis or symbiotic association. First of all, what is a symbiotic association? So there are some organisms that live together and share both shelter and nutrition. So over here, organisms are living together and they are sharing shelter and nutrients. This type of relationship is called symbiosis. So a relationship where two organisms are living together and they are sharing shelter and nutrients is called symbiosis or symbiotic association. So, for example, certain fungi live inside the roots of plants. In front of you is an image of mycorrhizae fungus on the roots of plants. So, what happens over here is we have a plant root, and then the other thing over here is a fungus. And when they live together and when they share things, this type of association is called symbiosis. So now over here the plant will provides nutrients to fungus. Since plants are autotrophs, so they can make their own food, so over here plant will also provide nutrients to fungus. And how does the fungus help? So fungus provides water and other nutrients. So what is happening over here? Plant is capable of performing photosynthesis. So it will provide nutrients to fungus also. While fungus, it is living in the roots. Right? It is living in the roots of the plant. So it can increase the surface area of the root. And if the surface area of the root has been increased, so it will be able to absorb more of water and other nutrients from the soil. So over here, plant root and fungus are living in a symbiotic association or in symbiosis. Let's see more. In organisms called lichens, a chlorophyll containing partner, which is an algae, and a fungus live together. So this is an image where lichen, which is a combination of algae and fungus, they are living together, as you can see in this image over here. So over here the two partners are algae and fungus. They are in symbiotic association or symbiosis. And this type of symbiotic association over here, it's given the name of lichen. Together we call them lichen. So algae can perform photosynthesis. So it will prepare. So fungus will prepare and provide food, while the fungus will provide shelter water and minerals to the algae. So algae is preparing food over here and fungus is providing shelter, water and minerals. So both of them are helping each other. So such a relationship is called a symbiotic association or symbiosis, and this particular combination where algae and fungus live together, this particular one is called as lichen. How nutrients are replenished in soil? What do you see in this picture? Why is this farmer putting manure in the soil? The farmer is spreading manure or fertilizer in the fields. Why is it done? I'm sure you know it, so that the soil again becomes rich in nutrients. Fertilizers and manures contain nutrients such as nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, etc. These nutrients need to be added from time to time to enrich the soil. So that is why the farmer is adding fertilizer and manure, so that the soil can be rich in nutrients like nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and plants that grow on it can be healthy, and there will be proper growth of the plants. We can grow plants and keep them healthy if we can fulfill their nutrient requirement of the plant. So if the nutrient requirement of the plant is not fulfilled, the plant will not be healthy and will not grow to its optimum level. Usually crop plants absorb a lot of nitrogen and the soil becomes deficient in nitrogen. So plants absorb a lot of nitrogen, and if they're absorbing a lot of nitrogen, it is definite that the soil will soon become deficient of nitrogen. So you learned that although nitrogen gas is available plenty in air, plants cannot use it in the manner they can use carbon dioxide. So we had studied about it, that plants can absorb carbon dioxide through stomata. But even though nitrogen is present in abundance in air, they cannot take in nitrogen through stomata like they take in carbon dioxide. So we had also learned that bacteria play an important role in nitrogen fixation, right students? So they need nitrogen in soluble form. Plants require nitrogen in soluble form so that they can absorb this nitrogen along with water and minerals from the root, through the root. So nitrogen fixing bacteria. So over here you can see root nodules being formed over here, right? So the bacterium called rhizobium can take in atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into usable form. And these nodules are being formed by this bacteria only. So let's see. But rhizobium cannot make its own food. So it often lives in the roots of grams, peas, mung beans and other legumes. So this nitrogen fixing bacteria found in the root nodules of leguminous plants. So this bacteria is often found inside these root nodules that you can see over here. So it will live over here and it will convert the nitrogen into soluble form. So over here we have also studied that rhizobium cannot make its own food. So if it cannot make its own food, how will it survive? So again over here we can, they follow symbiotic association. So what happens? Rhizobium which is the bacteria, stays in symbiotic association with plants, leguminous plants, or we can call them legumes, and this type of association is called symbiotic association or symbiosis. So over here this rhizobium, it performs nitrogen fixation. And legumes, they provide shelter mainly. And also food, because these bacteria cannot prepare their own food. Over here the rhizobium bacteria, it can take in atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into a usable form. But rhizobium cannot make its own food, so it is living inside the roots of leguminous plants. So they are living inside these nodules. So the rhizobium bacteria is providing nitrogen to the plant, and the plant in turn is giving the rhizobium bacteria shelter, and it is giving it food also. Again over here, symbiotic association is seen. The symbiotic association is of great significance for the farmers. Obviously, because the plants that the farmer has grown is consuming nitrogen and the soil is becoming deficient in nitrogen, and these bacteria for they are helping the plants to get nitrogen. They can reduce the use of nitrogenous fertilizers where leguminous plants are grown. So it is of benefit to the farmer, right? Because they'll not have to use fertilizers now, or the use of fertilizers will be decreased. Most of the pulses, dals, are obtained from leguminous plants. So most of the pulses that we eat are legumes. So they are leguminous plants. So in their roots, what do we see? We see the bacteria called rhizobium, which lives in the root nodules of these plants. Other interesting symbiotic relationships. You can see this fish over here. It's called the clownfish, and it is living amongst anemone. So they have an interesting relationship. What happens here is that whenever a predator comes to eat the clownfish, this clownfish will quickly go and hide inside the anemone. And the tentacles of anemone protect this clownfish from the predators. And in return, what does the clownfish do? Whenever clownfish excretes its waste material, that is the source of nutrition for anemone. And even some other aquatic creatures or fishes that eat anemone, clownfish scares them off. So both of them are protecting each other, and clownfish is also providing anemone with nutrition through its excretory products. Let's have a look at another interesting example. This is goby fish and a shrimp. So this organism shrimp, I hope you can see this one over here is a shrimp. This shrimp is almost blind, but it is very good at making burrows. So whenever a predator comes to eat the shrimp or goby fish, both of them hide inside the burrow. But how will the shrimp come to know that a predator is coming, because it is almost blind? So this goby fish, what it does is that through its tail, it will come and touch the shrimp and give it a signal that let's go, a predator is coming. So the shrimp is making the burrow for goby fish and itself, and the goby fish is helping the shrimp by telling it that a predator is coming and let's hide. Interesting, right? In the first one, we saw this clownfish hiding in the tentacles of this anemone, and both of them are protecting each other. When the predator for clownfish comes, the clownfish goes and hides, and the clownfish also protects the anemone from its predators. Clownfish is also providing nutrients through its excretory products to anemone. So see, in nature, organisms are taking care of each other. Interesting. Now, the summary of this chapter. First of all, we had learned that most of the plants are autotrophs. They prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. We then learned that a few plants are parasitic or saprotrophic. They derive their nutrition from other organisms. We know that all animals are categorized as heterotrophs since they depend upon plants and other animals for food. Then we studied about symbiotic associations and how important they are, their significance we studied. Now let's check your understanding. Choose the most appropriate answer. What kind of weather is suitable for fungal growth? Is it sunny weather? Is it wet and warm? Or is it dry and cold? Or dry and hot? I'm sure you know the answer. It is wet and warm. What is the mode of nutrition in fungus? I'm sure you can answer this without even looking at the options. Yes, the right answer is saprophytic mode of nutrition. Now, match the descriptor with the given word on the left. So, quickly read these statements. Okay, the first one on the left, the first word is nitrogen fixation. So as we studied, rhizobium living in the roots of leguminous plants, they do nitrogen fixation, right? Now the second word is mycorrhizae. So we had studied that certain fungus called mycorrhizae live inside the roots of plants. So this is also a symbiotic association. And the last word over here on the left is lichens. So lichens, it is a symbiotic association between an algae and fungus living together. I'm sure you knew all these answers. Now something to reflect on. A Roman statesman and a philosopher, he made this statement: there is no duty more obligatory than the repayment of kindness. So students, don't you think, isn't it what symbiotic relationship is all about? All the organisms, they are helping each other, right? And Swami once said, when you want to be honored by others, you need to learn to honor them first. So Baba said this. He talked about mutual respect. So the nature around us is already following it. So don't you think we should also pledge to help others, be kind towards others, respect others, right? I know that you all must be already doing it, but still introspect. Where else can you help others, be kind to them, and work mutually? Like organisms in nature live in symbiotic association, we also need to live in harmony like that. So that is all for today's class. Thank you so much. Sai Ram.